Jake, we're in a Beyblade time. Tell me what ratchets do.
The importance for ratchets is you want your bay to be as round as possible, as short as possible. Anything above 60 is making your bay worse. This is the 970 ratchet that's really round. You can see at 360 has a little bit more of a triangular shape.
You're messing it up.
In summary, short and round. That's basically all you need to know about ratchets.
I'm not paying you.
Illinuk. What? I was watching a little video today. Honestly, banger video. I've watched this guy before. He asked a famous YouTuber and I guess competitive player, I don't know, Illinuk, what ratchets are for and what makes a good ratchet. And he gave 2 specific criteria for a ratchet to be good. Specifically, short and round. See, Illinuk, I appreciate the thought, man.
But just to give the experts a chance to chime in.
Leave this one to the professionals. So, to recap, not only am I going to be talking to you today about ratchets, but I'm going to be talking to you about the other types of parts. The types of parts that we got starting out. We got blades. Alright, blades are the top piece pretty much. Draw a little diagram of one of those. Next up, we got ourselves Next up, we got the bit. Of course, the bit is the bottom part of the Beyblade. Controls movement. Looks like that. And we got the last part of the Beyblade. The ratchet. That one. Much bigger than all the other ones because it's harder to draw. So we're going to start at the logical conclusion and work our way down. Let's give our scientific explanation of each of the parts. Starting with the blade. So the blade represents a lot. The blade is kind of your starting point when you're making a Beyblade. The blade kind of represents the character. Almost it dictates the base archetype you're looking for. The difference in blade shapes can lead to small variations in performance, which can be really nice if you're going for a specific archetype or style of Beyblade. Think of it as like you're picking attack, defense, or stamina, right? Even if you pick Shark Edge, right, in the attack camp, if you put that on a ball tip, it's still going to KO things, and it's still going to functionally work as an attack type. You know, there are some middle ground stuff, obviously, but generally, like, this is what's going to be shaping the base archetype, or I guess, in this case, I'll say it shapes the win condition. That's the big thing. It pretty much shapes your win condition. How you're going to win, what you're going to try to resist, what your role in the meta is essentially going to be. Alright, on to the bits. Bits are that next level of detail, that next level of archetype shaping that really cements your Beyblade into what it's going to do. Let's say again, you chose the attack faction of the Shark Edge tribe. Don't catch me doing that ever again, alright? I did not just do that. Figment of your imagination. You've comfortably picked your Shark Edge. What are you going to put on it? Let's take a look-ski. Flat. Your standard attack dip. This is just going to turn your Shark Edge into a pretty strong overall attack type. Not really playing to any of Shark Edge's strengths. Could be better in my opinion, but you can't go wrong with the good old-fashioned flat tip. Tapered. I think tapered actually fits to its strengths a little bit more, or more actually, it counteracts a lot of its weaknesses. Putting it on that smaller tip with a little bit more control and a little bit more tilting performance, I think just really increases its ability to hit at angles, to really just make use of that fact that it has just such a good shape, right? Its shape really carries it, and I think that this provides the speed while not self-KOing a lot. On to Rush. I think, again, Rush is kind of the same dealio. Though I do prefer Shark Edge to be a little bit faster. Though I think this provides a good stamina advantage over Tapered. And it does like have the smaller gear ratio. So you do get a more controlled launch off the X Ridge. That's really nice with Rush. Heck, next up we can go Goofy. These are the Goofy ones. Hee hee ha ha ha. You could put Shark Edge on like Hexa. Would you wanna? I think it has a lot of merit, right? It has a lot of like attack potential. There's that little bit of shroovement, plus you get a good resistance. So you can kind of hold your ground and get a lot of attacks down. There's like a little bit of movement with Hexa when you launch it, right? That's just like uniquely anti-aggressive, which just works in a stationary attack context, though you don't really have much agency once the battle plays out, I guess. That's the issue with Hexa, is it's the fastest thing to lose agency for me, I guess. That kind of shows you what I mean with like bit potential. Bits can really change a lot about a Beyblade, but they can't change its, you know, base function, I guess. Shark Edge is always going to be an attack type. Things that are on the fence like Phoenix Swing can kind of become a defense type when you put it on Hexa. But again, I'd still argue it's more like a, again, like a spicy defense type. Still more of just an attack type on a defensive setup. Usually you can't just change a Beyblade's type by putting it on a different setup. You can put Wizard Rod on Rush, for example, and it becomes just a really nice stamina defense hybrid that has more staying power than the traditional ball, but has less stamina. So you're not beating Rod, but you're beating attack types. Ah, yeah, the other thing I should have mentioned, like, instantly, right? So take a look at these illustrations I'm about to draw for you. Ooh-wee, the elbow grease is kicking in. Alright, so take a look at these two illustrations. Alright, what do you notice about one? Yeah, this one's got a different little thing on it. If you look at your own bits at home, please do that as viewer engagement, and then comment that you did that in the comments, please, and then go down and like and subscribe. Thank you. If you take a look at your own bits at home and subscribe and like, you'll notice the attack ones and the balance ones have like a thick shaft on the inside, like a band on the shaft that's like thicker. The stamina and defense types have this kind of not so thick one. And you can even feel it when trying to turn the ratchet. You kind of lose a good chunk of burst resistance. In conclusion, by the bits allowing you to customize the stamina potential, the burst resistance, and the movement patterns of your Beyblade, you're able to basically complete the second half of your class-defining part list. The bit and the blade come together pretty much to define your Beyblade, right? I didn't even mention one of the most important parts for specifically Shark Edge, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. This is the real class definer here, and this is one of the best examples, and that's why I saved it for last. Ah, I tricked you all. It's low flat. Low flat probably has some of the best synergy in the game. It's the only low performance tip. Imagine if we had a low spike. Imagine if we had a low ball. Imagine if we had a low point. I've had a low point. Using low flats much lower, it's like a millimeter, much lower. It's a millimeter, but it matters, right? By using the millimeter height difference that only is allowed by the low flat performance tip, you're able to use the Shark Edge contact points, the ones that go under and kind of be Shark Edge ones. These ones, yeah, usually you're like about even, but now you're just a little bit lower. So you're able to hit those Beyblades just a little bit lower. It's a little bit, but it makes for the best upper attacker in the entire game, bar none. That's all I gotta say about bits. But now we're gonna move on to the ratchets. Now, I roasted Illinuk at the beginning of this video, and I just think that, like, I didn't explain myself well enough. And I think now is the time, you know? Now is the absolute chance of a lifetime. You've waited your time, you've made your peace. On to ratchets. All you need to know about ratchets, check this out. Okay, check this out. So when a Beyblade is shorter, right? That's a ratchet, right? And you have one that's taller. It doesn't go well for your burst resistance because you're easier to get under. You don't want to be easier to get under, so you don't really want to be taller. So yeah, you want to be short. Now on top of that, if you look at the outside shape of your ratchet, right? You almost want to be like, if this is 3, okay, that's 3. That's 4. And that's 9. Always pick a 9. And you want to pick round. Yeah, so that's my definitive ratchet guide. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this. Thank you so much. Dr.bladekid, going back to the lab. I'm absolutely 100% fucking with you. Short and round? Yeah, the science checks out. But let's see what we can add to this. The ratchet is the glue that holds the Beyblade together, right? It's the skeleton of the Beyblade, alright? It's the form factor, okay? Shark Edge is really dang good, but it wouldn't be that dang good if it didn't have that short ratchet and that smooth ratchet. Say, for example, it had, say 480, you would have a very bursty Shark Edge that couldn't get under things. You almost want the ratchet to be non-intrusive. You want the ratchet to blend in with the Beyblade so much, it's just adding. This part lets you just finely adjust the nuances, ever so slightly. Just a little bit, a little more weight on this side. You know, some ratchets have their use. 5, for example, has a little bit of extra weight. That's just like, pretty nice. You know, it's nice to have just a little bit of extra weight over like a 3 or something, especially a 9. You know, 3 gives a little bit more stamina than 9. Just those little tiny tweaks. 7 is a pretty interesting one because it's by far the heaviest and it has a little uneven shape. So if you combine it with something like Phoenix Wing, for example, that's an avocado, but I'm going to go with it. That's a Phoenix Wing, okay, if that's what Phoenix Wing looks like. You can have 7 kind of like align with the bottom of that by just orientating it differently, and I'll kind of show like a picture of it on the side. It's gonna open up like the mailbox from Blue's Clues. Just watch. You can kind of see like by changing where 7 is on Phoenix Wing, you kind of have an offense and a defense mode where it covers up the contact point more. It's a little subtle thing, but that little bit of plastic can add just the tiniest bit of weight to add more defense or offense to a contact point. Heck, one might even say that the ratchet is the most useless part, and you can kind of say that, right? I can kind of see where that's coming from, but to a top player like me, to a true Beyblade scientist, I see it like this, alright? You have the blade at the top. This gives you the by far highest level of control of what your Beyblade's going to do. Think of it like a microscope, alright? A little sample table here. Dials here on the side. And what do these dials say? They're usually going to say something along the lines of like 10x, 100x, 1000x. Something like that. That's kind of where you get with this. This works as the 10 times magnification. This lets you zoom in by far the closest and furthest away on what your archetype's going to be. Again, think of it like a microscope. When you're zooming in, you kind of get either a super blurry image that you can't really process, or like a little micro speck. You want to be able to go from this to this without it taking forever. I'll keep our little amoeba on the screen for right now. He's very blurry, very fuzzy. You can't really tell any nuclei or any amoebas and pseudoplasms or anything like that on it. Now, the bit 100 times zoom. This again, you turn it and you get like, obviously a lot of zoom still because it's a microorganism. However, that level of zoom is way more concentrated on picking out the finer details. You're no longer looking for the big shape, you're looking for the finer little details. The ability to see the blurry outline of a nucleus. Maybe like a little bit of plastoids inside or something. You know, a cell wall or two. That's what you're looking for in this 100 times magnification style. Then we get onto the ratchet. Let's draw this ratchet. 1000 times zoom. This is where you get to see everything in its full detail. Every little pseudoplasm, every single sharp, fine detail, you get to see it all in its finest super detail. That's the final product of your Beyblade creation. I know it's a little out of order. It's supposed to be Blade Ratchet Bit, not Blade Bit Ratchet. However, you really have to reinvent the wheel when you're doing meta content. TT doesn't really think about these things because they're not thinking as deeply as I am when it comes to this game. Essentially, this is like fucking absolute nerd shit right now. 100% super duper nerd shit. Overall, your blade is going to choose the core of your Beyblade. What base type it's going to be going for, and what base function it's going to have. You're choosing the character, and you're choosing the finer details. You're choosing your weight, your shape, all these sorts of things, weight distribution, stamina level. You're basically choosing all of your regular stats. The bits help shape and refine the image of what you're looking to make your Beyblade into. Are you going to take that attack type and make it stationary? Are you going to take that stamina type and make it mobile? Who knows? But the bit is what's going to choose its pathway. The ratchet is the final step to fully optimize the little intricacies of your Beyblade and really set in stone what you're going for. It's really helping the minor details. Just focusing on the small things, working on the minor balances, and just trying to find little synergies here or there. These 3 little steps of optimization very much make your Beyblade it, and without these 3 parts, if, for example, all ratchets were the same, you would lose out on a lot of interesting synergies. And I just think that, like, you can survive with, like, a 960. But please, try to mix it up. You have 180, for example, is really neat for attack. All of its weight's on one side. That's got a lot of attack, force, and you put that on Shark Edge, and how Shark Edge responds is this contact point's more open, but this contact point has more force behind it. You kind of get best of both worlds. It's really nice for attack. Kind of messes with balance, kind of makes burst resistance a teeny bit worse, but you're an attack type, so you have the coverage from the bit. So yeah, that is the Dr.bladekid definitive guide to the part list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm headed back to the lab.